Kicking off our descent, we encounter the most feared boundary in existence, the River Styx. This isn't just water, it is the river of hatred, a shimmering black void that separates the living from the dead. To cross, you need Charon, the grim ferryman who glides through the mist in his silent skeletal boat. But Charon doesn't work for free. He demands a single obol, a small coin placed in the mouth of the deceased. If you arrive without this payment, you are utterly stranded, left to wander the bleak shores for a century. The Styx is also the site of the most binding oaths in the cosmos, sworn by the gods themselves. Breaking a vow made by the Styx carries a terrifying penalty: 9 years of breathless silence and exile from the gods. Even the strongest heroes feared this crossing, knowing that once the coin is paid, there is no turning back. It is the ultimate checkpoint, where your wealth in life means nothing compared to a single piece of silver, uncovering the most haunting fate of all, not fire or ice, but a crushing, endless neutrality. Welcome to the Fields of Asphodel, the destination for the vast majority of souls who lived unremarkable lives. Unlike Tartarus, there is no physical pain here. Instead, there is a psychological void that never ends. The inhabitants are mere shadows of their former selves, stripped of passion, desire, and ambition. Imagine a crowd of millions, yet you are completely alone, unable to truly connect with anyone. There is no growth, no change, and no escape. Just the rhythmic, dull hum of eternity. Ancient texts describe these spirits as mindless, drifting like autumn leaves in a stagnant breeze. The horror lies in the monotony. It is the ultimate spiritual stagnation where the soul simply fades. In Asphodel, the greatest punishment isn't the presence of agony, but the total absence of meaning. Exposing the deepest pit of the cosmos, we reach the abyss where the most wretched souls are cast. Tartarus isn't just a prison. It's a cosmic dungeon located as far below Hades as the earth is below the heavens. Here, the air is thick with sulfur, and the screams of the damned echo through a bronze wall that encircles the void. Consider Sisyphus, condemned to push a massive boulder up a steep hill, only for it to roll back every single time. Then there is Tantalus, standing in a pool of water beneath fruit branches, both of which vanish whenever he reaches for them. The Danaides face a different horror, forced to carry water in perforated jars that can never be filled. Even the Titans, the precursors to the gods, are chained in this lightless void, suffering eternal bondage. The punishments are tailored to the crime, turning the sinner's own hubris into a permanent physical loop of agony. In Tartarus, there is no hope for release, only the crushing weight of an eternity spent in failure. Shifting to the most feared sentinel of the dead, the monstrous three-headed hound known as Cerberus. He doesn't just bark, he is the ultimate biological lock, ensuring no soul ever escapes the realm of Hades. Ancient texts describe him as having a mane of living snakes and a tail like a dragon's whip. While he lets the dead enter without hesitation, he turns into a nightmare for anyone trying to leave. The terrifying truth is that Cerberus is a creature of pure instinct and absolute obedience to the king of the dead. Orpheus attempted to bypass the beast not with strength, but with the haunting melody of his lyre. Then there was Heracles, who had to wrestle the beast into submission without using a single weapon. Imagine the horror of facing 3 sets of jaws, each capable of crushing bone in a heartbeat. He is the finality of death personified, a guardian that never sleeps and never forgets his duty. Peeling back the curtain on the afterlife's bureaucracy, we find the 3 most feared judges in existence. Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Aeacus were not gods, but mortal kings chosen for their absolute impartiality. They sit at the crossroads of the dead, where every soul must stand and account for every single action. Minos usually held the final word, acting as the supreme arbiter of the soul's ultimate destination. Rhadamanthus was the specialist of the East, known for a rigor that left no room for mercy. Aeacus handled the souls from the West, meticulously weighing the truth of a spirit's testimony. There is no lawyer here, no plea bargain, and absolutely no chance for a second trial. One wrong word or a hidden lie, and the judges cast you down into the deepest pits of torment. Their verdict is the finality of the universe. Once the sentence is passed, it is eternal. Investigating the most psychological horror of the afterlife. The River Lethe, the stream of absolute oblivion. While other rivers represent hate or fire, Lethe is a silent, shimmering void that strips away your identity. Ancient texts describe souls drinking from these waters to erase the agony of their past earthly lives. But this isn't a mercy. It is the total annihilation of everything that made you human. Your first love, your greatest achievements, and your deepest regrets simply vanish into the current. In the cycle of reincarnation, Lethe was the mandatory filter, ensuring a clean slate for the next life. Imagine the terror of waking up in the underworld and realizing you no longer know your own name. You become a hollow shell, a nameless shade wandering the gray plains, without a history to cling to. Even the heroes of myth feared this erasure more than the physical tortures of the pit. Because in the Greek underworld, the ultimate death isn't the end of breath, but the end of memory. Analyzing the paradox of paradise, we reach the Elysian Fields, the supposed reward for the virtuous. Imagine a land of perpetual spring, where the air is sweet and the sun never truly sets. But for many, this isn't a reward. It is a gilded cage designed to keep the soul complacent. Here, the heroes of old spend eternity in leisure, stripped of the struggle that defined their lives. The horror lies in the stagnation. There is no growth, no challenge, and no end to the repetition. Some myths suggest that only those who are reborn 3 times can truly escape this luxury. Until then, you are trapped in a loop of perfection, where the lack of pain becomes its own torture. It is the ultimate psychological trap, a heaven that feels like a prison because it is too perfect. In the underworld, even the most beautiful destination carries a hidden, suffocating price. Revealing the absolute center of this nightmare, we encounter the sovereigns of the dead, Hades and Persephone. Hades is not a villain, but his cold, unyielding nature makes him the most feared deity in existence. His gaze is said to strip away every lie, leaving the soul exposed and naked before his judgment. Beside him sits Persephone, the Iron Queen, whose warmth vanished the moment she tasted the pomegranate. While she represents spring above, here she is the terrifying mistress of ghosts and silent screams. Together, they maintain a cosmic bureaucracy where mercy is a foreign concept and the laws are absolute. The sheer pressure of their combined divinity creates an atmosphere of suffocating dread for any visitor. Even the gods of Olympus tremble at the thought of the silent authority Hades wields over the abyss. To stand before them is to realize that in the end, everyone belongs to the king and queen of shadows. Examining the most relentless hunters of the Greek underworld, we encounter the Erinyes, better known as the Furies. These weren't just guards. They were the living embodiments of vengeance, born from the blood of Uranus. Their primary target, those who committed the ultimate sin, the betrayal of their own kin. Alecto, Megaera, and Tisiphone didn't just wait for you to die. They hunted you while you were still alive. They used psychological warfare, driving sinners into a state of complete, breathless madness. Once the sinner finally reached the gates of Hades, the Furies' work was far from finished. They acted as the prosecutors of the underworld, ensuring no crime went unpunished in the final judgment. Their whips were crafted from the very essence of pain, leaving scars that would never heal even in death. There is no hiding from the Furies. They can smell the scent of guilt from across the mortal plane. To be pursued by the Erinyes was to experience a terror that made the underworld itself seem like a sanctuary. Finally, confronting the absolute peak of existential dread, we reach the point of no return. The irreversibility of the threshold isn't just a boundary, it is a metaphysical lock. Once a soul crosses this invisible line, the laws of the living cease to apply entirely. Ancient myths warn that the threshold acts as a one-way valve for the human spirit. Even the most powerful heroes, like Orpheus, found that defying this law is nearly impossible. One single glance backward, one moment of doubt, and the threshold snaps shut forever. The horror lies in the permanence. There is no appeal, no loophole, and no second chance. To cross is to surrender every tie to the sun, the wind, and the warmth of breath. It is the ultimate psychological terror. The realization that you are finally, truly, gone.